You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma stories through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com and definitely on Instagram at oklahomahof. Let's get into today's episode. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode down in Yukon, Oklahoma today. Talk a little bit about family story. Talk about, I think, the American dream. It's very alive and true. It's something I believe in a lot. Some people don't, but I do. Business we're going to talk about is a little bit of roofing. Michael Salazar is with me. Michael, thanks so much for your time. Love the shop here. I've driven past this building many times. Didn't realize how much of an operation you had.
Yeah.
It's pretty deep, right? You know, you just see the kind of small building outside from the road, and then you get in here and you're like, oh, this thing goes back quite a ways. Like, this isn't just an old shop.
It's actually pretty slow today, but we try our best. Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, obviously, you know, people would have seen, I think, your billboards everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, you guys do a great job marketing your business, but there's a lot more to the story, and thanks to Harold, who I guess works for a company that you pay to do your advertising, we're here today. Me and Harold are good friends, and it's been I'll link Harold's podcast below as well, because he does a great job doing his Tunes podcast. If anyone listening likes cartoons and music, it's definitely a good podcast to listen to. But you know, seeing your billboards everywhere, and I know you guys have won a lot of awards and stuff, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the family story and kind of how it all begins, right, and how you get here. So taking it all the way back, what's kind of like your earliest memory of the business or just kind of growing up in general?
Growing up in roofing, I'm a second-generation roofer, first-generation Mexican-American. My father, who came here from the northern state of Mexico, a state called Coahuila. Uh-huh. He came here, he met my mother at about 14 years old, and they got married, and they're around, 16, 17 years old, back in that day. And he worked in odd jobs. He kind of did concrete here and there and some frame. He did a lot of framing and stuff like that, anything he could do to support, his new family. And in about 78 or so, he started working with his uncle, roofing new construction houses. And at that time, they were paying him about $2.50 a square, which is every 3 bundles.
Yeah.
And he killed it every day, just doing. He said he made about $450 a week in 1980, and he said he was living the dream, man. That was a lot of money back in that day. But my earliest memory really was in the mid 80s. I can remember him coming home and he'd come home in the dump truck or something like that, and his work trucks. In San Antonio, Texas, was where we started, south side. And just grew up around it. All of my family, his brothers do roofing, half of his other brothers do roofing. They have their own roofing companies, successful ones in San Antonio still. Yeah. And several generations, really. One uncle that's passed away that he used to work with my dad in roofing every day, so it's all we've ever done. It's all we've ever known. Yeah. It's kind of it's like half of our lifestyle, pretty much. It's all we ever do. It's what we talk about in family gatherings. It's kind of crazy because it's like part of us, really. You know, and it's no matter what we try to do to get away from it or try to do other things, roofing always sucks us back in, it's the beast.
Well, you stick to what you're good at, right? And you're good at it, the business, you just kind of keep adding on to how we grow the model, right? Yeah. If you're good at something, the good thing is there's plenty of roofs in this country, and in Oklahoma, construction's not slowing down anytime soon.
No, we've grown over the years. We were subcontractors for many years. For a long time, we were subcontractors for a lot of other roofing companies, and very successful at it. My dad had about 10 crews at many times, about over 100 men, and he just grew to the point where he couldn't. He put a very one-line ad in the phone book, 20-something years ago, and that one-line ad got him a lot of work, and it just grew to what it is now, and We've scaled it down a little bit over the years, just because for peace of mind, just for a better life.
Sure.
But for several years, we were averaging about 20 to 25 roofs a day.
That's some serious
yeah,
work.
a lot of shingles, and the stuff we advertise, on the billboards around town with so many millions of shingles.
Yeah, it's like 39 million right
it's
now.
Really it's real hard data, so it's not something we just made up in our head, and it's we've scaled it down to we're like maybe 6 roofs a day, and 6 to 7 roofs a day at any given time. So and we like that, but
right.
if when we incur when we get hurricanes and hailstorms, we're easily knocking back again another 20 roofs a day.
Yeah. So you've always grown up around kind of entrepreneurship and an entrepreneurship family then?
Yeah, hard, just a gritty life, hardcore work, and it's kind of when I was younger, I'd be like, hey, I want to go with my friends to see a movie or something. Okay, cool. When are you going to go? Saturday. All right, well, I'll see you out. You can go work Saturday, and then I'll pay you, and then you can take them, Of course, they give me money, just because they love me and all of that. It wasn't a lot, but, a little bit to go with my friends. But that was always the mindset of, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Sweep rake the yard or something, and just make sure you get your hands dirty for that money.
Yeah.
It's literally, to this day, still like that.
Yeah, that's something that generations now aren't doing that, right? Like there's plenty of we can moan and bitch or whatever about kids growing up playing PlayStations or doing whatever, but it seems like kind of hearing what you said now, I'm sure you kind of trying to instill that work ethic in the next generation of your family, just to keep that going, because there's always work going to be there to do.
Always. All the time.
And even though you've hit a success point where they probably don't have to do that, and like I said, you've got money to probably have someone do it for you, but it's the life lesson that's going to help them going forward.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and we've been blessed. It's not all came to us on our own. We've been hardcore blessed. By my dad. His lifestyle was one way of many years ago. He's written a book about it, and he can tell you about it. But once he made a shift from the way we were living, in an alcoholic, drug abuse type, lifestyle and all of that, partying all the time, and he made the shift to better our lives. And him and my mother, they gave their hearts to the Lord, and raised us, tried to raise us in that way. We were still in San Antonio, but tried to raise us in that way, and moved us to Oklahoma. We just God really blessed us in that move.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying, to do that, and the doors just opened once he cleaned up his lifestyle and pointed his life in the right direction. It's like we got that elevated, push. You know what I'm saying, from that plus hard work. It just it's a great combination. Honestly, you're gonna reap what you sow either way. And we've been reaping what we've been sowing. Thank God, in a good way.
Yeah. How old were you when I said mom and dad kind of chose to change their lives and move you to Oklahoma?
We would come like every fall, every other year, just to work for another contractor here, just to work for like 3 or 4 months to get some good money, and then go back home and work. So one time we did that, and my dad, in 1996, in the summer of '96, my dad said, "Hey, we're gonna go do that again," and we just ended up never going back. And I was about 14 years old then, in '96, and I hated it at the time. I just had this bad attitude, teenager, what I'm saying. And growing up in San Antonio, I was around all my family and friends, all my cousins, to nobody here but some family, but it wasn't the same. And that is when we moved here, is when it really, the influence of my mother's family over my dad really helped that, because they all went to church. And Oklahoma, what I'm saying, is different as far as raising a family than Southside San Antonio. And literally Southside San Antonio was, to me, in my opinion, still the same than the way Oklahoma's grown. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So that influence over my father, and hey, where are you guys going to be at Sunday? Well, we're going to be here. Well, let's all go to church, and that all the time. It just kind of changed the dynamic of our family structure, and I went through my teenage years, still through that, and when I got in my late teens, early adulthood is when that influence kind of bled over into me, and I ended up changing my life for the better also.
Yeah.
But I would say the mid-'90s to the late '90s.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of, there's a lot of kids that grow up and they don't get to see their parents make a change, right? They might be too young to remember it. They only remember it because they were the reason that their parents changed because they were born.
Yeah.
But you being 10, 12, 13, 14, aware of what was going on before and after.
Yeah.
That's a really cool perspective to have because you know what it could be like.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And you probably don't want to go back to that because you know that there's possibility, for you to make a few wrong turns and you'd have a few drinks and you don't, life could be bad, right? Life could be totally different.
Yeah, in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
It's amazing on how much I used to complain to my parents of when are we going to go back to San Antonio? When are we going to move back? When are we going to do this? And I thank God we never did. As much as I griped and complained all the time and had this bad attitude, I don't even think they saw really the full outcome of what God had planned for us, So we were roofing all the time, and it was still hard, and roofing every day and doing that. But my dad loved what he did, and that made all the difference in the world, And when I would go with him in holidays, even in the mid-'90s when I was a teenager, I'd go with him on, Labor Days, Saturdays, summers, breaks, spring breaks, all of that to work. I'd always see him enjoy what he did, and that difference of what I see him, how he did it, and how people do it now in this industry, roofers in this industry, it's night and day, and because the roofers in this industry now are in their 20s, and they didn't grow up with a guy like my dad, so when I roofed with my dad, I'd see him whistling, making fun and, always in a good mood.
Right.
And loving what he did, taking an old roof and putting a new roof on it. And at the end of the day, you see what you accomplished, that a feeling of accomplishment every day, and responsibility, because it's a great responsibility. And it taught me so much,
right.
And on the ethics and all of that, just from what I learned from him.
Yeah. Do you think, is that a culture thing, or was that just like a dad thing for you? And I say that because the neighborhood I live in right now, one of the phases is under development, and I walk the dogs in the morning, and the crews are always out in the morning, and they are having a blast.
Yeah.
Music's blaring, and you walk by other crews, and some you like, people aren't, they're not grateful. They don't seem happy to be at work.
Exactly.
There's a switch there, and my question is that a cultural thing, or is that like,
I think it's a culture thing, because a lot of the crews like we have now, you go to the job sites, and some of them are quiet. They don't talk really to each other a lot. They're just kind of there. And in the summertime, it's different because it's nobody really. They're not in the mood to be because it's hot. In the fall and winter, it kind of changes, but still. And then there's other crews we have where they have the radio on. They're all talking. They're all having fun. And man, it's just a big difference in work, how your day goes by. And I used to, when I got my own crew when I was 18, I kind of made that same culture change too. Like with my crew, I'd, hey, da 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 da, be joking around and making fun of each other and this and that, and have that fun, because it made roofing is already hard enough as it is, and just to add that, it's a huge difference in how you work.
Yeah.
And it goes along too with office stuff,
Right. Yeah. You add in Oklahoma wind and heat and trying to carry stuff up a roof.
Yeah.
Or even cold. I mean, we get everything here, don't we? Which is not fun to plan at all. But when does it, I know you said you're kind of subcontracting for others when you first came here. When does it switch to like, we are like our own, we're going to go out and do it. We're not subcontracting, we are.
2004 was the big shift.
Okay.
2004, early 2004, April 16th, 2004, we got a huge hailstorm come through northwest Oklahoma City, and it's northwest OKC all the way down Expressway through Nichols Hills all the way to the Broadway extensions was thousands of homes. And so my dad had already built this kind of ad following, before social media and all that, on the phone book.
Yeah.
And he kind of knew how to work the phone book and billboards at the right times. And so when that happened, he did a couple of ads and some newspaper stuff, and it was just so much work. He had 10 crews, 10, 12 crews, and each crew was assigned to a different company at that time. And he just had to tell them all, like, man, I got so much work for me, I just have to have all these guys for me, and I'm sorry, but of course they didn't like it, but it's just the way it had to go. And we were all scared, honestly. I was like 23, 22 around there, and that's all we had known, because we knew that's all we had ever known. So we broke off, and Salazar Roofing has been Salazar Roofing for a long time, because that's what he contracted as.
Yeah.
But Salazar Roofing, what it is now, is when we made that change, and we've been just killing it ever since, really. And it's really, in my opinion, the success, like I mentioned before, has been based off of two major things. Doing what you say you're going to do, and do it right. And if you don't, then fix it.
Yeah.
And that's always been my dad. And then, of course, just that backing of, living our life for God, and making that lifestyle change, and not getting out there and being crazy. And there's a ton of successful other guys in this business that don't have that, and that I don't judge them for it, but are extremely successful. But I've always wondered in the back of my mind what their quality of life, when all music's down and nobody's around and you're by yourself, what is that quality of life? How is it when you're by yourself,
Yeah.
versus, when we live our life right, and living it for God every day, and putting Him at the forefront with us, so those two major things really have played a role in our success.
Yeah, because it makes roofing the vehicle to changing other people's lives, right? And spreading
Exactly.
the message and living your life the way that, you intend.
It's a great tool.
Yeah. And putting roofs over people's heads is not a bad way to do it either, is
It's
it?
a great tool, man. To give back too, it's crazy because we try not to really put it out there a lot, but we end up we'll do some free roofs every now and then, and it's just because people don't have it, or they need it and they don't have it, or something like that. And we don't get too crazy advertising that, because then you'll have everybody knocking at the door. But it's something that we have been blessed with, that are able to do and give back in a way, and we enjoy it.
Yeah, it makes, it's, the good thing is you have the ability to do it, right? And it makes you feel fulfilled to give back and see that happy, smiling family's face whose house has been ruined by a hailstorm or wind or tornado, whatever it is. Or they're just in a bad situation and they can't afford to put a roof on their house, bad insurance, whatever. It makes you, appreciate what you do, the skills that you have, and the work that you've been doing for 40 plus years. Right? It's fulfilling, isn't it?
That's right.
As much as we all want to make $1 billion, right? And, drive fancy cars and fly fancy jets, like you said, it comes down to, what are you doing on your own? What are you, when it's just you and your thoughts?
The rewards, that come with it, of course, is that, like the latter of what you mentioned. But a lot of people don't understand is, if you provide a service and you alleviate other people's problems, you're gonna do well, and we happen to be in a certain industry and live in a certain state where we always have problems like that. So when you take care of other people's problems and work hard at it and do what you say you're gonna do, you'll be successful.
Was there ever a point growing up where, obviously culturally and then family and you're working and there's a job somewhere, there's always something to do. Do you ever get to a point where you think, I just resent going to work, climbing roofs, I want to go do something else? Was there ever a dream that you wanted to go do something else and go to university or start your own business?
Man, I've always, that always plays in the back of our minds,
right.
All of us here, my sister, me, my brother, because they're all a huge part of this business. It's not, and my dad, My dad is heavily involved in real estate development, and in many ways that's like his therapy, you know, like that's his thing, you know, to do that. And I would say right now at this moment of his life, he's half busy in that, and he's found his niche, and he's got great resources for that. But as far as us, yeah, man, I didn't graduate high school. I dropped out in March of 1999, and you know, we were different back then. So my dad was different back then. So I was partying a lot, you know, hanging out with the wrong people, and ditching school. And my dad found out, and he's like, if you're gonna ditch school and not go to school, you might as well go to work with me and at least make money. And when he said that, I was out the next day, you know. So I dropped out the next day in March in that spring, and the day I dropped out, my mom took me to work with him, and I've been with him ever since, you know, 23 years. And I've always looked back and said, man, I wish I could have at least finished high school, you know, gotten a degree or something. But I made the choice, and I'm glad I did, you know, because a lot of people that I know that have gotten degrees and are, you know, did the whole 9 yards, they didn't come out so well. It's not so much that it's the degree's fault, it's just the work ethic instilled in them, and what they used with what they got, you know. And what we used with what we got, we took it to the limit, you know, and there's still a long ways to go for us, long ways to go, you know. So my sister's the same. She wishes she would have gone to college, but roofing called her, you know. And my brother too, man, he dropped out of high school and he answered the call to roofing.
Yeah.
You know, so
it seems to be working just fine, right? But
and my brother, he's highly, you know, he's for his age, he's very successful. He's got a great family and nice house, and you know, he does well. And you know, we have our I would say, you could say we have our insecurities when we're around highly intellectual people, you know, but when it comes to roofing, you're on my turf, you know, and I can beat, you know, I can beat everybody on that.
Yeah. There's so many cases out there where, you know, you've got people who are super intelligent, super smart, but they lack work ethic, and they're hating life in an office, you know. And if you are listening and you're one of those people, do yourself a favor and leave and try something, because you can always go back to an office job.
Exactly.
You won't regret it. You know, but like I said, work ethic is the main thing. And I'm sure there are times that you think, you know, you listen to friends or you meet people, you go to football games, think, wow, it would have been great to stand in the student section and spend 4 years having a great time and coming out with a piece of paper that might not mean anything.
Exactly. On this note, I've had 3 doctors tell me, one in particular I'm thinking of, he's a dentist actually, but he's got a successful business, and I fly a plane to a lot of places to look at roofs. You know, Arkansas, Colorado, Texas, Louisiana, Florida, everywhere. I fly my own plane, and I flew my plane to look at his roof. And we started talking about it, and he has his own plane too. And he said, man, that is so cool. You get to fly everywhere and look at roofs. And I said, I mean, I guess, you know, I'd rather be home, you know. And I said, I just don't want to be driving all the time. And he said, yeah, but all I get to do is just be in this office working on people's teeth every day. And keep in mind, he's pretty successful. And I said, sir, honestly, I wish I was you. And he said, no. He said, I wish I was you. And I was thinking, wow, like this guy's telling me he wishes he did my stuff. And I'm like, man, I look at roofs. I was like, you have no idea how much we stress out when it's gonna rain. You know what I'm saying? Like the common things you guys never think about, you know, roofers showing up to a job, you know, all this kinds of stuff, this mountain that we have to make sure. I said, he goes, no, you don't understand, but that's what life is. You know, he was just talking to me from his perspective, and it really opened my eyes, you know. And I was like, man, thank God, you know, it's cool. And I've had 2 other doctors tell me the same thing, you know. Man, I'm just in this place all day. I'm a brain surgeon, you know. It's like wow, you know, pretty cool.
He's kind of chained to his surgeon's room, or whatever you call it, operating room, but plays golf on the weekends, drives a nice car, and lives in a fancy house, right? On paper, it looks like he's living the dream.
To us, it does.
To that point, then, like, talk about flying. What gets you into flying? Like,
I've always loved aviation.
Yeah?
You know, aviation, airplanes, just the aerodynamics of everything about it. I've always been into World War II, you know, just everything about jets. And when I was a kid, I always wanted to fly an F-16.
Yeah.
And I'd say that, and I had them goals, but, you know, growing up in the wrong neighborhood, wrong friends, or, you know, not necessarily wrong friends, because that was my choice of the things that I did, you know. So I made the wrong decisions, and I ended up here where I'm at in roofing. So one day I thought I'd look into it as a career change, and when I was physically roofing all the time, and I was like, man, I'm tired of roofing. I don't want to do this anymore, and I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So I went to a school and talked to some people in the industry, several pilots, and they were like, this is the worst thing that you can do. Stick to roofing, man, because we only make like X amount of dollars, you know, starting out. And I looked into it, and he was right. And I'm like, man, I make way more than that now roofing.
Yeah.
And so I about 10 years later after that, I heard actually who is my pastor now talk about how he went to a school and did a discovery flight, and boom, 6 months later he was a pilot. And I'm like, man, if you know he did it, you know, I'm gonna do it. So 2014, I went. I paid $50 for like a discovery flight, and I was hooked. And I did my 50 hours of training. I got my pilot's license December 10th, 2015. I'm sorry, June 10th, 2015. And I've been advancing in my ratings since then, but I love it, man. It's just, it's a thrill. I didn't understand. I don't think even my dad knew how much he loved it, because he started off buying a small airplane too, and to get from point A to point B quick, you know, and the views you have from then and here, you know, and all of that. He's gotten really into it too. He's not a pilot, but you know, he's advanced in his airplanes he's got now, you know, but it's just a whole nother world, you know, a lot more appreciation for the guys that do it.
Yeah, it's fascinating, you know, and you're right. Like when we look at fighter pilots, we're like, you have the coolest job in the world, right? Especially Top Gun's just come out again, and everyone's like, you know, I want to be a fighter pilot, I want to fly a jet. And you're like, you're making zero, you know, in relative terms, like not much money compared to what, you know, what entrepreneurs can make.
Exactly.
But you fly jets all day, which is kind of like, I don't know. And it's weird, like the last couple of days I've noticed people walking around or driving in their cars and they're wearing flight suits. Like they're going to work and tinker and stuff, and I would never have noticed that before, but obviously because Top Gun's just come out, now you recognize people in their, you know, their flight suit and stuff, which, I mean, it's still cool, isn't it? You have the aviators on and you're in your flight suit and you're like, I feel, you know, like $1 million bucks, right? But is there any, I'm sure there's got to be something out there that you can pay to have someone take you up in an F-16 or something.
In an F-16, I don't know on that.
Or a jet of some sort.
My dad has gone to one of those in Florida, and he said, from his words, it is literally the funnest thing I've ever done in my life. And he's been all over, my dad's been all over the world, you know, and he's done all kinds of things. You know, he's done everything. So for him to say that about that, it was he got an airplane with another guy, and another guy got an airplane, and they like did Top Gun stuff, you know, and flying around in that airspace and shooting each other, you know, with what they were doing. And one guy would shoot the other guy down and stuff like that. They did it and he had like a flight suit. He had the whole gimmick, you know, and he said it's the funnest thing he's ever done. So I was like, man, he's like, you need to do it, this and that.
It's on the bucket list.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Back to flying around to job sites. Obviously, you know, you've got kind of spots all over the country, right?
Yes.
How does that develop? Is that just family in certain areas that you think, hey, we're gonna like? How do you get to having, you know, was it 5 or 6 total?
Right
spots?
Now we've got a location in Colorado, Lawton, Oklahoma, and in Florida right now. You know, plus this one. So. We used to have more, we've scaled it down, but the Colorado one, I can give you an example. The Colorado one, I had this deep sense in my heart that I saw like this target in my spirit, you know, over the middle part of Colorado. Mm-hmm. And I prayed about it, and I felt that I needed to go there. And so me and my wife went there in 2016, and I got my license there, my roofing license. And we've done pretty successful there over the years. It's been a little slower the last year just because we've been concentrating on stuff here. But it kind of works out that way. I went there, I got an office, me and my wife got the office, we got it set up, and kind of built a portfolio of sort, of work there. And Florida, me and my dad have been working that pretty hard. My brothers worked that pretty hard, so we used to have another office in the panhandle of Florida, in Panama City, but for Hurricane Michael. But Florida has, in my opinion, Florida has done pretty well. And we still have that. When we go to places like that, we usually try to keep it small, and a small location, and with an office staff of 1 or 2 there.
Sure.
And we've got a great team in Florida right now. I think we have the best team we could have in Florida, just holding that fort down. I don't have a team in Colorado. Mainly when it's stuff that comes up, I fly there and take care of it.
Okay. Is it fairly easy then to kind of replicate the model? You just got to be careful with the spots that you pick, because obviously not Oklahoma's obviously a great spot because we get weather. Yeah. Right. Like, is there other?
The challenges with replicating them, so the model here, we're kind of spoiled. We're kind of spoiled to here, because we have everything here. If I need something, I can go outside and tell one of the guys, hey, go to Lowe's or go there, take the dually, and we can take the trailer, take this to this job site. When I go to Colorado, I have to do all that. It's a one-man show.
Taking you back 10 years, right?
If I get a job in Denver and our shop's in Colorado Springs, I got to take the truck and get the stuff, take it to them. That's a half a day thing. If it's a big job, you're doing that every day when you're supposed to be doing other things.
Right.
And if it's a big enough job, I'll call one of the guys here and have them go down there and stay in a hotel. But it can be a challenge to replicate the model. That's what we're working on now, is how to do that and then have other people already know. I'm already kind of gearing up right now as we speak for hurricane season and stuff like that, so that we're ready.
Okay.
But again, several years of that experience. In 2005, me and my dad went and worked Hurricane Rita in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and that really helped us out. Of course, my dad's been doing this, going and working storms since before I was born. Since when I was a kid, I remember him working Hurricane Andrew, in Florida in the early 90s, so I remember him going down there working, taking his crews. So it's just, 20 plus years of, but the models definitely have to change because the culture is changing. The roofing culture is changing. So
it's amazing how, it's fascinating. When we start talking about it, you have to look at the weather, you have to look at all of the storm seasons and things are going to happen, because, like you said, that's kind of where the business is at. If you just sit here and wait for it to come to you,
you're dead.
You're dead, right? It's people probably don't think. I didn't think that. It makes total sense now, but I think people are just unaware that. You guys have traveled for, like I said, for the entirety of most of the business, because of that's where the work is, and the roofs aren't going to change, but they're just going to be all over the country.
You can stay here and not do nothing else, not go anywhere else, and that's perfectly fine. You just have to understand that is that outcome is only going to be so much. So if you want to be a $2 million contractor, maybe up to 10, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You can maybe do more some years. Some years we did 50 million, and with a big storm here, 40 million, 50 million, several years of that, and that's a good thing. But what I always tell everybody is Oklahoma's too small for us, and what I mean by that is the amount of things that it takes to take care of this company and to keep the ball rolling and to keep the quality of guys we have. We've got to always have a lot more work. So, and not only that, but we love to be perfectly honest with you, we love the thrill of going somewhere new, and meeting new people, new county people, new city halls and all of that, and eating the food there and enjoying that. When it hit Lake Charles 2 years ago, man, we love Lake Charles, and we went down there and worked that storm again. And the food's great, the people are nice. It was in the heat of COVID, 2020, and it was interesting because when we went down there, it's Category 4 hurricane. Lights are out, nobody has power, all kinds of. It looked like literally a bomb went off in Lake Charles, The government was nowhere to be found, which was interesting to me, and very little government help. And what was amazing, and this is, keep in mind, George Floyd was going on, and COVID was going on. Everybody hated everybody if you weren't wearing a mask, and the whole gamut, what you see on the media. But when you went down there and this would look like a bomb went off, it was amazing because the human spirit, everybody helping everybody, like people helping people cover their house, and people helping people with water, people helping people with food, giving people clothes. Nobody was talking about COVID. Nobody was talking about the riots of George Floyd. Literally, and it's black people helping white people helping us helping everybody else, and that was a huge up, and the situation sucks, and how it all looks, but the human spirit, the will of everybody helping each other, it's just like, wow, man, It was just amazing. So we like that, we like that chase, and then helping people put their roofs back on, and in the meanwhile, you're also getting rewarded, and having an extra income.
Yeah, it's special, right? Because like I said, everything comes to mind, and everything that you have read about or heard about, whether it's through faith or just people, whatever it is, you're seeing it in real life down there.
It's crazy. And then you work there for a week. I'd come back on the weekends. I'd fly back on the weekends. And you're in that, you're sleeping on a cot and this and that, and in a house that don't have power or whatever. And you're working from literally 12 hours, 15 hours a day, because that's all there is to do.
Yeah.
And you come back and you deal with clients here, and they're like, your guy left the water hose on. It's like, man, I just came back from a place that they wish they could have everything you have right now. You have power, thank God you got power.
Right.
You're complaining about something that I don't say.
It's going to cost you a few dollars on your water bill this month.
Yeah,
right?
I don't say those things.
Well, you can't, right? Sadly,
I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, but I'm thinking of like, wow, I just came from a place where these people don't got nothing, It's like a third world. And for them, most of them are underinsured.
Yeah.
They don't have a way out, and, everybody here is like nothing was going on. I went to a job in Colorado, a big job we were doing in Colorado, and he's like, so what you been up to? I'm like, oh, I'm just working, I'm working Laura, because that's what we say.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean you're working Laura? I was like, Hurricane Laura. I said, that was the one that hit, the Cat 4. And he's like, a Cat 4 hit? And he didn't even know, and it's like, dude, I was like, you've got a region that is impacted that don't have, but it's pretty sad that the United States, just, I don't know, it's crazy.
Just oblivious to the rest of the world sometimes.
It's amazing.
Oh, that's funny. So kind of coming towards like present day, I know you mentioned like Oklahoma's kind of not big enough for you because you're at a scale now where you can go and send crews and service, basically the entire country. What's kind of plan for growing in the future? And you think, Dad doesn't seem like a guy who's ever going to retire.
No, he's not.
Because, that's just not the way. I don't get the sense that he's not going to be on a beach somewhere,
No, that's not Dad.
It's not his thing. So
he's been saying he's going to retire in 5 years for the last 20 years.
He just keeps finding stuff to do.
But he's going to work till he can't work anymore.
Yeah.
And that's good. I told him last week, Dad, because he's like, talking about this, and I was like, I don't want you to retire. I want you to. I love to see him here,
right?
Because he still does the same thing when we roof. He cuts up. He makes fun of people. He jokes, and it's part of him. But as far as for us, what I personally want to see is more growth. Not in numbers wise, but in scaling on income. Mm-hmm. And keeping the headaches down, and that's a major challenge. It's a major challenge. So, growing and building the structure and the culture of our company that will support that. And I've been working on it for about a year. So just growing that, so trying to support that, and getting larger jobs that will have the margins enough to do that. Versus a ton of little jobs with a ton of complaints and problems. So it's what we're working towards. We've always done big commercial, but we're trying to scale it to where that's mainly what we do.
Gotcha.
We love the residential side of it, but the commercial really where I see us is if we want to have a better quality of life, doing more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of real estate stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're right to that point of not having dad retire. Like, you've been working with him for what, 23 or something years now.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really cool relationship to have. And
Yeah.
a part of you would be gone if he didn't show up to work every day because he was retired somewhere, right? Like, it's, I don't know, it's just a part of you that's, like I said, that just wouldn't be there, and then, like I said, it wouldn't be fun anymore.
Exactly, man. I don't. It's a challenge. Don't get me wrong. Working for your dad.
Every family business has its challenges,
Man,
right?
It's a challenge because it's personal.
Yeah.
It's business. And my dad will fire he'll fire anybody if you're not if you're not benefiting the company. So he will let you go, and people don't understand that when they come because he's a cool guy and he's nice or whatever. But if you mess up and you know that you were supposed to do something, he gets on you, and it's like they're crying or whatever, and it's like, dude,
this is a business.
He's your friend, yes, but this is his baby. You gotta be on board with him. You know what I'm saying? He's leading it. You see the way he leads it, so you've got to be up there with that. Those are the expectations.
Yeah.
You can't just be nonchalant over here expecting someone else to do your job.
Right.
So, but I appreciate that, and his having that around, kind of, to kind of check you, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
Getting the calls at 7 a.m. Hey, you told me you were gonna do this, and you did it. Not good morning. You need to go and do this. Take care of this right now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh crap! You have to cancel everything now.
Right.
But I like that. It's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
We need it, man. We all need it.
How many times has he fired you?
Oh man, I've been fired from Salazar Roofing, without exaggerating, at least 20 times. My brother got fired like 2 weeks ago. I will show you the text. My brother texted me, say, "Dad just fired me." I started laughing.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I've broken windshields. The windshield I have in that truck, I've broken that one from just him making me mad. I don't mean to break it, but I'll throw my phone or whatever. By the next day, we're over it.
Right.
Because it's he's my neighbor. I literally live next to him. So he'll piss you off and then invite you to dinner that night.
Oh, I love it.
That's just the kind of guy he is, man.
Yeah. Finishing up then, kind of more personal stuff. Obviously, you're a lover of tattoos, and it sounds like food and travel are big things for you.
Yeah.
What gives you relief other than jumping in the plane and flying somewhere? Like, where do you go for vacation? What do you do for fun? And what's kind of like your favorite food spots, maybe locally?
One of the favorite things I love to do on this world is just to get out somewhere and walk, just get lost in the mountains somewhere and just walk with no phone and just hopefully get lost on a trail somewhere and pray to God a bear chases me or something, you know what I'm saying? I see a mountain lion or something, but that's one of my favorite things to do is just go to Colorado, and I know a lot of trails there, and just go there and walk, man, and not have a laptop, not have an iPad, not have roofers calling me. I've had like 3 phone calls already from roofers right now, so just that. And food, God, I'll eat anything. I'll eat if it's breathing, but as far as favorite spots, man, I don't know, because I just like to eat everywhere. Honestly, man, it's just going with people to hang out and eating.
Yeah.
That's with us and our culture, it's really, in Mexican culture, really, the passion for food is intense, to have for the half of the fun is making it, and then the other half of the fun is enjoying it with your family. So we grew up around that, and making great food. So when people ask me, what's your favorite Mexican restaurant around here? None of them, because they all are horrible. In my opinion.
Yeah, family food is trumps everything.
In my opinion, they're all horrible, They're tolerable, they're edible.
Right, but it's all home-cooked food from mom and dad.
Yeah, I'll go to a place here on the south side and stuff like that, and it's pretty good. I like it, and I'll go there all the time. But for me to say that it's my favorite here, that's Texas. That's going to have to be Texas. Texas has the best Mexican food in anywhere, in the United States.
Right.
Texas, in my opinion, beats Tex-Mex, and Texas Mexican food is. But yeah, just having fun, hanging out with family. I always tell people, man, if you want to get me anything for my birthday or Christmas, get a Outback Steakhouse gift card and then say, let's go eat dinner. And, you know, give me the card and say, let's go eat dinner and with me and you.
An hour of your time is better than just a meal.
I love that. You know, just, I love that right there because we already have a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean, how much more things can you get? Another belt, another, you know, shoes, another hat, whatever. And it's more bullets and more guns, all that stuff. It's just like, whatever, you know. I've gotten to the point, I'm not old, but I've gotten to the point where I just enjoy, you know, that better. Hanging out, laughing, and, you know.
It's quite an interesting switch, right? I mean, we're all going to get to it at some point, but you ask anybody who's older than us, you know, 60, 70, 80 years old, they're like, doesn't matter what you got, material things. Like when we were a kid, right? Like I want a Ferrari, I want a watch, I want this, I want a cool hat. I mean, whatever it is, right? You're always kind of chasing that material thing. Sounds like you've got to that switch where you're like,
yeah,
I've experienced it. It's cool, but you know.
I told my wife like 3 days ago, because my birthday is in August. I said, if you want to get me anything for my birthday, this is what I want you to get me. And I showed her, and it's one of them charcuterie boards. And it's like, give me this. It's gonna be my 40th birthday. That's what I want. I said, buy the best one you can buy.
Right.
You know, with all local stuff, local honey.
Yeah.
I said, spend $100 on it, man. Get a real nice charcuterie board. We'll sit at the freaking table and we'll just hang out and talk and eat that thing. You know, and that's all I want, man. You know,
that's cool.
Just, you know, we'll call my parents over or something. You know, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's life, because you know my parents are gonna be here forever. And those moments, man, those moments right there, that's the best.
Yeah. Great way to end it. Some great advice, people listening. Go and eat some food with family, hang out, have food, drinks. Just spend that time, right? Because like you said, we don't get it back. So, Michael, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. For people listening, I'll post the link to the website and the story and Dad's book. They can go check that out.
Right.
Because obviously, you know, there's a lot more to the story than kind of what we just heard. But I really appreciate you sharing. You know, wish you all the best for traveling and flying in the future. Can't wait to catch up with you in a few years. And you've been in an F-16 dogfighting over the beach in Florida. But for people listening, thanks so much. We'll catch you next episode. Cheers.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma stories through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com and definitely on Instagram at oklahomahof.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.